Jeudy, the clock is not just ticking, it is screaming. It is screaming from every corner of the Cleveland Browns facility, from every decision Andrew Berry has made this offseason, from every draft pick invested and every free agent signed. And if you have been watching this situation develop and telling yourself it's nothing serious, telling yourself that veterans always find their footing when the lights come on, I need you to sit down and reconsider everything you think you know about what is happening in Cleveland right now. Because this is not a minor adjustment. This is not routine roster management. This is not the kind of off-season shuffling that organizations do every year to keep players sharp and competitive. What Andrew Berry is executing right now is a deliberate, calculated, and comprehensive overhaul of the Cleveland Browns wide receiver room. And at the center of that overhaul, whether he wants to acknowledge it or not, sits Jeudy, a player who arrived with expectations and is now watching those expectations get buried under an avalanche of younger, faster, hungrier competition. Let's build this from the foundation because the full picture demands it. The 2026 NFL draft came and went, and when the dust settled, the Cleveland Browns had made their priorities crystal clear. Andrew Berry walked into that draft with a mission at the wide receiver position, and he executed that mission with the kind of precision that makes you realize this was not a reactive decision. This was not Berry looking at the board and taking what fell to him. This was a predetermined directive to transform the receiver room through premium investment, and he followed through on it without hesitation or compromise. The Browns selected a wide receiver with a late first-round pick. Read that sentence one more time and let the significance register fully. A late first-round pick. In an NFL where every selection in the first round carries weight, where teams debate those choices for months before draft weekend arrives, Cleveland spent that currency on a wide receiver. That single decision tells you more about how this front office views its current personnel than any press conference statement ever could. It tells you that Berry looked at the receiver room as it was constructed and determined that what existed was not sufficient, was not explosive enough, was not the foundation he wanted to build an offense around going forward. But Andrew Berry did not stop there. He could not stop there. Early in the second round, the Browns went back to the well and selected another wide receiver. Back-to-back rounds, back-to-back investments at the same position.
Always against you because there was some stuff that I fought for you. Like you're saying, I said some stuff that was like, I see the vision. I see how you made the mistake. But my man, you have vindicated yourself. I mean, listen, you got the internet dogging Paul DePodesta. You got me talking about Kevin Stefanski can't identify talent. My man, you got 4 picks that arguably all could have been first-round picks. Do you know that? You pulled off something that I can't believe it. It was almost shocking to see how good you them first 4 picks was. Bro, you on one. You cooking with grease right now. You finally got it wasn't one time that you drafted somebody and I had to go, who is that?
Who's that?
Let me go look up some stuff. I didn't have to do that. I knew who it was, and it was a bunch of people that was actually advocating for us to get those people. For the first time, you didn't have to, I don't have to hear you say, we like our wide receiver room, knowing that your wide receiver room is trash, knowing that you knew that they wasn't good, and to finally see you address that need. Not only did you get a tackle in the first round, you dug back and got another one because you knew DeJuan gets injured and KT Levinson wasn't it. No offense to KT Levinson. Bro, I hope you have a great career. I hope you really turn it around with George Warhop. But what we've seen from you thus far has not been good enough. And AB addressed it. I was like, oh my goodness. You knew the contracts of Ronnie Hickman and Grant Delpit was coming to an end.
2 consecutive selections of premium draft capital poured directly into a position that already had an established veteran in Jeudy. That is not an accident. That is not coincidence. That is a front office making a statement so loudly that anyone paying even marginal attention could not possibly misread the intent. Those 2 players, the late first-round pick and the early second-round pick, did not enter the Cleveland Browns building as developmental prospects being groomed for future roles. They walked in as the projected number 1 and number 2 wide receivers on the depth chart. That is the expectation that accompanies that level of draft investment. Organizations do not spend first- and second-round picks on receivers and then ask those receivers to patiently wait behind veterans. They spend that capital because they expect immediate competition, immediate contribution, and ultimately immediate results. Which means Jerry Jeudy, before a single preseason snap has been played, before a single training camp practice has opened, has already been pushed to the number 3 spot on the depth chart. And then, as if the draft class wasn't already enough to fundamentally reshape the competitive landscape, Andrew Berry reached back into the offseason and made one more move. After the 2026 NFL draft concluded, after the weekend ended and the selections were finalized, the Cleveland Browns signed LSU wide receiver Aaron Anderson as an undrafted free agent. Anderson himself announced the deal publicly on his Instagram account, sharing the news with his followers and making it clear that Cleveland was where his professional journey was beginning. It was a personal announcement from a young player excited about his opportunity, and it quietly dropped another piece of evidence into the case that Andrew Berry is absolutely not finished reshaping this receiver room. Now, undrafted free agent signings happen across the league every single year. Every team adds a wave of UDFAs after the draft concludes. Most of those players are depth additions, special teams contributors, training camp bodies who give the roster competitive balance without truly threatening established players for meaningful roles. But Aaron Anderson does not fit that description. Aaron Anderson is not a body. Aaron Anderson is a player with legitimate production, documented explosiveness, and a college career that speaks to exactly the kind of skill set Cleveland is prioritizing as it builds this receiver room. His story starts before LSU, and that starting point matters considerably. Aaron Anderson arrived in college football as a 4-star recruit. That designation is not handed out generously. 4-star recruits represent the upper tier of high school football talent, players who have been evaluated extensively by analysts, measured against the best competition available, and graded as individuals with the tools to compete and contribute at the highest level of the college game. When a player carries a 4-star label out of high school, the industry is collectively stating that this person belongs among the elite prospects in his class. The first major program to act on that belief was Alabama. Alabama pursued Aaron Anderson and offered him a scholarship. And if you understand what that means in the context of college football, you understand that this is not a minor detail.
Ronnie Hickman, go Bucks. But you got they went and got another playmaker out there, dude who knows how to get the football. I was talking to Earl earlier. I think he had, 8 forced fumbles, 5 picks, 13 takeaways by himself in college. Bro, that's what we need in the secondary. So, man, listen, AB, you did your thing, bro. Hey, I'm excited. After you got the whole city on fire, you got people talking about Cleveland Super Bowl. Here we come. Man, this is the most. Listen, what was that? Last week, I was talking about winning the AFC North, and people laughed. They was laughing at me. Can you believe that? They was laughing at me. Now, all of a sudden, they smell what you cooking like The Rock. Come on, man. We got marble floors. Listen, I'm about to take my shirt off on the stream. I'm on fire right now. Hey, we back. We is back. Hey, I'm turned. Hey, what OTA he going to, y'all? We might go to all of them. Shoot.
Hey, I was up in that damn bodega with Mama Food Stamps, and they was laughing at me.
They was laughing at me. But don't worry, I handled it, though.
Hey, this dude.
Big screen TV.
Need more money than she ever had.
Hey, look. The draft picks, look at this chat. The draft picks look so good to them. They over there tickled. I don't know if y'all on sugar, cocaine, alcohol. Y'all don't even drink. They like this high off life.
Hey, we back. Ain't nobody tell me nothing right now, bro. Listen. Think about this. Think about this though. The pieces that he got.
Nick Saban's program built its dynasty on the foundation of elite recruiting. They did not extend scholarship offers as gestures of goodwill. They extended them to players they genuinely believed could contribute to a championship-level program, players who could survive and thrive in one of the most demanding football environments in the country. When Alabama wants you, it is a statement about your ceiling as a player. Anderson spent 1 season with the Crimson Tide before deciding to transfer, and he landed at LSU ahead of the 2023 season. That transition set the stage for what was coming, even if nobody fully anticipated the magnitude of it at the time. In 2024, Aaron Anderson stopped being a prospect and became a problem for opposing defenses. That season, he finished with 61 receptions for 884 yards and 5 touchdowns. Those are impressive numbers on their own. But the number that truly defines who Aaron Anderson is as a receiver, the number that tells you everything about his profile and why Cleveland specifically pursued him in the undrafted free agent period, is his yards per reception average. Nearly 15 yards per catch across the entire 2024 season. Nearly 15 yards every single time he touched the football. In the SEC. Against defensive backs who are themselves future NFL draft picks. Against safeties who were coached specifically to eliminate deep threats and vertical weapons. He still averaged nearly 15 yards per reception, which tells you with absolute clarity that Aaron Anderson is not a possession receiver working underneath coverage. He is a vertical threat. He is a receiver who gets behind defenses, who stresses secondaries deep, who can turn any catch into a chunk play because his average gain on every target is nearly 15 yards. That kind of production in that kind of conference against that kind of competition is not noise. That is signal. Now, 2025 brought a reduction in production, and full transparency demands we address it directly. Anderson played in 9 games that season, finishing with 33 receptions for 398 yards. The numbers dropped from his breakout campaign, and that is factually accurate. But the reduction was tied directly to a reduced workload and limited opportunity rather than a collapse in talent or skill. He was not featured the way he was in 2024. The targets were not there in the same volume. And when a receiver's opportunities shrink significantly, his production numbers follow naturally, not because the player has regressed, but because the math of volume and opportunity is unavoidable. His career totals across his college tenure stand at 106 receptions and 1,350 yards with 5 touchdowns. He accomplished that with his most productive season sandwiched between a transfer year and a limited final campaign. The explosiveness that defined him in 2024 did not disappear. The burst, the vertical threat, the ability to create separation and turn catches into significant gains, those traits are not seasonal. Those are the foundational skills of who he is as a player. And now he is in Cleveland. Now he is in a wide receiver room that already features 2 premium draft picks and a player in Isaiah Bond, who himself carries the potential to climb the depth chart ahead of established veterans. Now he is in an environment where every single receiver on the roster is being evaluated not by name or by contract or by history, but by what they show on the practice field and in competitive settings when the evaluation truly matters. That environment is exactly what Andrew Berry designed it to be. Think about the construction of this room and what it signals about the front office's philosophy. You have 2 rookies with first and second round pedigree at the top of the depth chart. You have Isaiah Bond pushing for a higher role with ascending development. You have Aaron Anderson arriving from LSU with 4-star recruiting credentials, an Alabama transfer background, and a 2024 season that featured 61 catches and nearly 15 yards per reception in the SEC. And sitting somewhere in the middle of all of it is Jeudy, a veteran who needs this season to remind everyone why he was brought to Cleveland in the first place. The pressure on Jeudy is not theoretical. It is structural. It is baked into the roster itself. Because the conversation that has followed Jeudy throughout his time in the league has always circled back to the same place. Consistency and, more specifically, the absence of it in critical moments. Drops, missed opportunities. The kind of moments where a quarterback needs absolute certainty that the ball will be caught, and that certainty has not always been present with Jeudy. Those conversations carry different weight now. In a previous version of this receiver room, inconsistency from a veteran might have been tolerated because the alternatives were limited. But Andrew Berry has methodically eliminated limited alternatives as an excuse. There is no thin depth chart to hide behind anymore. If Jerry Jeudy shows up to training camp and the drops return, if the inconsistency resurfaces when the pressure is real and the competition is live, the Cleveland Browns now have multiple players capable of absorbing those snaps and delivering with them. Berry built that into the roster on purpose. He gave his coaching staff options. He gave Shedeur Sanders weapons at multiple levels of the receiver room so that no single player's underperformance becomes a crisis for the offense. That is masterful roster construction, and it is an incredibly uncomfortable situation for any veteran trying to protect his role. Speaking of Shedeur Sanders, the quarterback dimension of this conversation cannot be dismissed. Young quarterbacks need receivers who create immediate separation. They need targets who can take a 5-yard route and turn it into a 20-yard gain, who can take a crossing pattern and threaten the sideline, because once the ball is in their hands, they have enough explosiveness to make defenders look foolish. Aaron Anderson's 2024 production profile fits that description precisely. Nearly 15 yards per reception means Sanders can throw with confidence, knowing that Anderson has already created the space to make a play after the catch. Building that kind of receiver room around a developing quarterback is not accidental. Andrew Berry is constructing the conditions for Sanders to succeed, and every piece of that construction doubles as pressure on the veterans who need to prove they belong in the environment being created. The totality of this offseason at the wide receiver position tells one undeniable story. The Browns invested a late first-round pick on the position. They followed it immediately with an early second-round pick on the same position. They watched Isaiah Bond continue his development as a legitimate ascending option. And then, after the draft concluded, they signed Aaron Anderson out of LSU, a 4-star recruit, an Alabama transfer, a 2024 SEC breakout performer who averaged nearly 15 yards per catch and finished with 61 receptions and 884 yards in one of the most competitive conferences in college football. None of these moves exist in isolation. They are all chapters of the same story, and the story is about transformation. Jeudy is standing in the middle of that transformation, and the roster construction surrounding him makes the message impossible to misread. This is not about pushing him out of the building tomorrow. This is about creating a standard of performance that has to be met or exceeded if he wants to maintain any meaningful role in this offense. The days of veteran privilege protecting him from competition are finished. The days of limited alternatives giving him a safety net are over. Training camp will set the order. Preseason games will sharpen the rotations. Individual performances will ultimately determine who earns the right to be on the field when the regular season matters most. But the direction Andrew Berry has established through his offseason decisions is already written clearly enough for anyone to read. The Cleveland Browns want explosion. They want vertical stress. They want receivers who can manufacture chunk plays and make defenses pay for every coverage mistake. Aaron Anderson's 2024 season represents exactly that profile. So do the two rookies at the top of the depth chart. So does the broader philosophy being stamped onto this receiver room through every decision Berry has made. Jeudy, the room is full. The competition is real. The margin for error has narrowed to almost nothing. And the front office has made it abundantly clear that there are multiple players in this building ready to take what you are not willing to protect through performance. The time for answers is arriving faster than you might realize. And when training camp opens and the evaluations begin in earnest, there will be no excuses available, no depth chart thin enough to hide behind, and no veteran status strong enough to substitute for what Andrew Berry is demanding from every single player wearing a Cleveland Browns uniform. The wide receiver room renovation is underway. The pieces are in place. And the only question left worth asking is who is going to rise to the moment and who is going to be left behind by it. We will all find out together. But Andrew Berry already knows what he built, and he built it exactly this way on purpose.